Dear friends and comrades, that's a very special edition of Without Censorship interviews. Our today's guest is absolutely exceptional. Politician, human rights activist, unstoppable in exposing the greatest hoaxes of our times, defender of peace, former rep from Georgia, and the US presidential nominee for the Green Party in 2008, Dr. Cynthia McKinney. Welcome, Dr. McKinney.
Well, thank you so much for, we're crossing more than the pond. We're crossing the pond and then a little bit of continent and going all the way to the other side, and we're together. Isn't that wonderful?
It's absolutely.
That's what technology is supposed to do.
Yes, that's why we believe in globalization of the people, but not the globalism of the elites.
Yes, that's right. That's right. You're absolutely right.
Dr. McKinney, beginning from the US stories, a lot of people, not only in the USA, but all over the world, 8 years ago, fell for allegedly anti-system image of Donald Trump. Not returning to the history, but how it's possible that so many people would like to fail in this trap again? Why for so many people, Trump means wars, Trump means peace, not just another war in the other part of the world? And what's in this phenomenon of the so-called right side populism and these successes of Trump, Johnson, and Netanyahu and others?
Well, I can't speak for the success of Netanyahu, because I'm not a part of Israeli politics, but I can tell you that the rise of Donald Trump, basically, in my opinion, occurs as a result of the failure of the left. And when I say the left, there are many different layers of the left. I consider myself to be a part of the far left. But today, because the politics is so convoluted and turned upside down, I say that I'm so far left that I'm right. And that's because there's so many, you could say that there's been a tectonic shift in sort of the foundational politics in the United States. So if it's anti-war, you will not find members of the Progressive Party or members of the Progressive Caucus or people who identify themselves as progressives. You won't find them anti-war. They're pro-war. And I suspect that they have always been pro-war. And so this dichotomy, red versus blue, left versus right, black versus white, however you want to divide it, basically is false. And so ever since I got my PhD, that was 2015, I've been trying to demonstrate in concrete ways that that was a paradigm that was forced on us and that it is not accurate. It is not an accurate way to describe politics in the United States today. And so you can look at news media, and they always say Democrat versus Republican. They always point to left versus right. And that's the paradigm that they promote. That is not a reflection of reality. The reality is that there was a hard left, and I would consider myself to be a part of the hard left, the extreme left. And then something else happened. George Soros and members of the Clinton Foundation family decided that they were going to finance a new left, a different left, because we were just basically unviable and implacable. So they had to find people who would sing to their song, that would sing their tune, and they created this new left, this faux left. So we have the hard left, we have the faux left, we have the hard right, and I suspect that they did the same thing on the quote unquote right side, which oftentimes is the wrong side, but they did it on that side as well. And so now the observing public has to discern the real left message from the real right message, and it's impossible because the politics has just completely shifted, as I said, and what's up is down and what's down is up. So I have had to make new friends, quite frankly. If I want to be consistent in my view that I am against these wars, I'm against US imperial wars, then I have found new friends. I've had to find new friends.
Yeah, I believe that it's not only the US phenomenon, because a couple years ago, or several years ago, I can't remember observing Polish political life or British political life that there was no such a case of, for example, pro-Israeli right. Not mentioning, of course, about the pro-Israeli left. Now there's a lot of them from both sides. It's hard to find something more pro-Israeli than the British Labour Party and. So-called British extreme right try to attack pro-Palestinian marches. So it's absolutely unbelievable. Yes. Several years ago. And they're quite similar is in Poland, unfortunately, and they're all over the Europe. But speaking about the progressive forces in the USA, we are all aware that Democratic Party establishment with almost every election try to scares people about so-called nadir effect. Yeah? So spoiling the election for Democrats and giving them up to the Republicans. In 2008, you have been accused in the same way by the apparatus of Democrats, running as the Green Party candidate against Barack Obama and John McCain. Today, a lot of people place the trust in Robert Kennedy Jr. To what extent, in your opinion, his campaign is a treat for the elites of both parties? Well, and being, observer of the Kennedy family path, I have to ask: isn't that the treat for his life? Such a campaign. I've read on his Twitter today that he would like to take control over the Federal Reserve. Just after saying something quite similar, his uncle hasn't returned from Dallas.
Yes, in fact, I just did an interview where I said if I were going to run for Congress again, my HR 1, which would be my House Resolution number one bill that I would introduce would be a repeal of the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, because I believe that until we gain or regain control of our currency, our money system, that as long as it's in the hands of international private bankers, that they will give money to their friends and then we'll end up fighting each other, not for the morality of an issue, but so we can get paid. And that is a tragedy. That's a pure tragedy for humanity. But that's where we are now. So, it's not just the Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, the European Bank. So, those three entities need really to be dissolved and money put back in the hands of the people who are making decisions on behalf of the people or the people themselves. I'm a direct democracy kind of person myself, so.
Yeah, definitely. Empire of money is now much more powerful than any kind of, state hegemony, and the new hegemony, new apparatus all over the world is in the hands of the financier. That's absolutely.
That's right. Yeah. But now, in terms of RFK Jr.'s campaign, I have to say that the moment he decided that he was not going to directly challenge Joe Biden in the Democratic primary, I believe he, became irrelevant. So I just really don't even pay attention to him anymore. I did pay attention to him at first when there was a little bit of interest in knocking Joe Biden off, but and then I don't know, how well he's good on healthcare issues, at least on the vaccine issue. He's horrible on the Israel issue. And as far as I'm concerned, international humanitarian law ought to apply to all human beings, you know. There's not, no one is exempt from human rights law. So, you know, it is the situation with the pro-Israel lobby, at least in the United States. I can speak with great assurance that I'm sure somewhere, someplace, there was a decision that was made in the reaches of the powers of that money to say, oh no, we can't do this. You run as an independent. So now by running as an independent, we don't even know how many state ballots he will get on, because that's state by state process getting on the ballot. And, you know, if you get on 20 ballots, that's not enough to really affect the election.
Yeah, well, I would say that the very disappointing moment of the Robert Kennedy Jr. campaign was that his position about the Palestinian issue, because any candidate in the American election, I believe, or almost any candidate which considers himself be a serious one, of course, starts with you know, making all these efforts to present themselves as a much more pro-Israeli than the other ones. So that's
yes, that's right.
the problem
That's
of the
right.
American policy. Yeah.
It's a problem, but it's a problem of the Federal Reserve. So, you know, I'll just take it back to, you know, from where does most of the political money come in the United States? And you can trace it back. So it's the owners of the Federal Reserve, who are private international banksters is the term these days. And they can give money to their friends, and they can deprive their enemies of money. Okay, so now they deprive their enemies of money, and then they buy people with pittance. And people have been shown to be willing to sacrifice even their most sacred values if the price is right. And so now we have a policy, a foreign policy and a domestic policy too now in the United States, where Henry Kissinger said, well, you know, there's no place for morality in US foreign policy. He was talking about foreign policy at the time, but now it's bled over into domestic policy, where people in the United States are dying because they don't have health care. They're losing their homes because they don't have health care. You know, my son went to school in Italy, and he was able to get along with his visa, he got health care for a fee, and anything that happened to him, he was covered. That doesn't exist in the United States. It absolutely doesn't exist. And what Obamacare was, people where I am in Asia, they say eyewash. And eyewash is like, you know, something that they say is real, but is really fake, and then have you believing in something that's fake, but you think it's real. And so Obamacare doesn't provide health care to the people of the United States. Obamacare provides health insurance. So it provides public dollars to the private insurance companies. That's not health care. And if you look at our health care outcomes, you will see that we're failing on almost every index. We're failing. Why? Even in terms of life expectancy. United States life expectancy is going the other way. Yet, healthcare dollars spent are up and up and up. So almost everything in the United States has become an eyewash now. So when Trump said that the system was rigged, well, everyday ordinary people could identify with that. Of course, you know, I'm not average and ordinary, and I could see it a long time ago, especially being African American. I could see that the system was rigged. Okay, the system has always been rigged. You could say the system was rigged ever since the Constitution was signed into law, because who could vote? Well, women couldn't vote at that time. And even of the men, if you were a poor man without land, you couldn't vote. So the system in the United States has always been rigged, and we have to look at it that way. We have to look at things realistically. And so then if we want a proper solution, you can't give a proper solution to a misdiagnosed problem. So when Trump said that the system was rigged, he was absolutely right about that. And I think that's why people joined into at least his campaign, or maybe even began to follow him and pay attention to him because he was speaking their language. That is the conversation that average, ordinary Americans have around the dinner table, how the system is rigged. Now, he also said that he was going to drain the swamp. So, well, we know Washington, D.C. and all of our state capitals are swamps. We know that. So there was a lot of swamp draining, that, pulling the plug and letting that, all of that detritus and everything else that's in the swamp, let it go down the drain. Well, we needed to do that. We still need to do that, but Trump didn't do that. And then on top of everything else, what Trump did, and I hope you're not broadcasting on YouTube because you'll get taken down, but then Trump gave us Operation Warp Speed, which gave the world those big pharma injections, and they were untested. And of course now, for the people who were most gullible, we're seeing health outcomes that are eventually increasingly death outcomes.
Yeah, well, I believe that this element that people wait for someone speaking like them, that was crucial also, for example, for Brexit. Yeah, when the people in the UK considered the slogan "Take back control" as not only anti-Brussels, anti-European Commission one, but also as anti-establishment one. We would like to take back control from the elites. But of course, that hasn't happened, as we all know. So that it was the kind of fake cure, for fake medicine for the real illness.
So, yes, a real illness, but fake medicine. Yes, very well put.
Yeah, the point is, I believe that it's like on this meme that some people believe that system is broken, so had to be repaired. But the problem is that system hasn't broken. It was planned that way, and it works exactly how it was planned. So it has to be replaced. That's the point.
That's right. In fact, that's what I teach my students from Ronald Heifetz, who comes up with the theory of the broken system. And basically he says that any system is merely a reflection of the most powerful parts that are in it. So if we're looking at a social system, political system, and if it fails to serve some people or most people even, the system was intended to be that way, and it's just a reflection of who has the power in the system. I agree with that.
Returning to the political issue, I believe that, well, internal American policy, especially from the left side, from the progressive side, always struggles with these divisions, with these internal conflicts. I try to observe, to follow last couple of months of the American presidential campaign. I observed, for example, Cornel West, very renowned philosopher, author. Of course, a man rightly admired by many people, by many, not only American readers, struggled with the organizing background and the organizational part of his campaign. He talked about the People's Party ticket, after that the Green Party, after that but the Independent, and all of this, all these efforts met attacks and critics from over the sides. I remember your campaign, and again, real progressive side of American politics always try to set as some kind of the wise people on the mountain, with a lot of advices, but with no solutions. And the point is that it's very easy to critique with someone is acting. For example,
right,
you in your political and social activist life, But when it comes to self-organization, it's always problems for the United States. Why, as it is? It's the only question of the leftist intellectuals, but it's what is the point of this weakness of the American progressive left?
Well, I think part of it is that the people of the United States have successfully, when Donald Trump talked about the system is rigged, well, you know what, my sort of thought along those lines is that if the system is rigged and we operate within the system, then we're rigged too. So the people of the United States have been rigged as well. And they have been rigged to think in divisional terms. Gilad Atzmon wrote a book, Being in Time, where he talked about the balkanization of I think he was referring to the US public in particular, but I would think that what he's said would probably apply in other countries as well, but I'm not that familiar with other countries. But I am certainly familiar with the United States, and I can tell you that it's very difficult for people to think outside of their balkanized existence. In addition to that, the information flow is such that Seymour Hersh called it siloing. So the war lobby in the United States were able to fabricate it, quote unquote, intelligence against Saddam Hussein. And then they siloed that intelligence, the content of that intelligence directly to the White House, to the vice president's office. It was not seen by anybody else. So it was the White House that then said, okay, we have this information, blah, 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 blah. This is what it is. And this is why we have to go to war. There was no debate. There was no nothing, because no one else had seen what had been siloed. Well, that is exactly the way the population of the United States, in terms of opinions, political opinions, have also been siloed. So we've got the balkanization of the population, we've got the siloing of public opinion, and then, of course, it's very easy, divide and conquer, divide and rule. When you've got a population that's so divided, then it's very easy to be ruled. And that's why the United States is kind of like the basket case, the political basket case that it has become.
Yeah, I believe that the strongest tools in the hand of establishment now, not only in the US, but all over especially Western politics, it's polarization and alienation of people. We are polarized,
that's right,
to be alienated. So that's the absolutely.
That's right. That's right. And of course, then in terms of of the messaging, so you've got this deep state that's able to deliver the message everywhere you turn. So you look at the news and you think that you're seeing something factual, but you're being rigged by the deep state, even when you look at the news. When you go to a football game or a basketball game, those athletes take positions that are rigging you further. When you go and look at your singers and your entertainers that are not professional athletes, you turn on this side and you're getting the similar kind of messaging. So everywhere the average undiscerning person turns, they're getting a similar message, and that also is a part of the problem.
Yeah, messaging is absolutely crucial. I believe that digging this new informational channel for the people to get some truth about the world is absolutely basic and necessary in our conditions now. And well, that's my next question about your involvement in the initiative of the Rage Against the War Machine rally. And I believe that it was very significant, not only because it was so big event of anti-war movement in the US, reminding us that there was time that anti-war movement was really powerful in the US.
But we still didn't stop the Iraq War. So I spoke, members of Congress were told not to show up. You couldn't go. Well, I went, and it turned out there were 5 of us who said, no, 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 they can't tell us what to do. We're going to go. When the time came, 11 o'clock in the morning, for the members of Congress to take to the stage, I was the only one. Everybody else chickened out, cowered, whatever. There's no such thing as a courageous politician, I think, because they just, because they're politicians. Now, there are very many courageous public servants, but the public servant is not the politician. The public servant is there to serve the interests of the people. Well, anyway, so I think that, quite frankly, I don't know where the anti-war movement is now. Quite frankly, I don't, at least in the United States. I'm US specific. I can't say that we have a movement that is anti-war. The closest thing that I have seen are the Stop the War, the Gaza, Stop the Bombing of Gaza campaigns. That's the closest I've seen. And that's, of course, that's a necessary movement. And I'm thankful for that, but we haven't even stopped that. And we didn't stop with hundreds of thousands. When on that day, when I was the only one to show up, there must have been 300,000 people there. And still, we didn't stop. We didn't stop the war. So, and then what they did, I don't know if your audience would be aware of this or not, but that was the year that I was kicked out. Well, I've been kicked out of Congress 2 times. That was the second time that I had been kicked out of Congress by the same war party that is considered, both parties, Democrats and Republicans, constitute the war party. And I had been kicked out because the vote was going to be very close in terms of financing the Iraq war. And so I was a sure no vote. And they had to converge, all of these interests had to converge in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and make sure that I didn't win. And that's exactly what they did. They used the electronic voting machines, because those are very manipulable. And Georgia was the first to deploy those machines, by the way. And they used those machines to steal the election from me. My replacement theory is real. My replacement in the Congress voted for the funding for the Iraq war. And guess how many votes are needed to pass legislation in the Congress? 218. Guess how many votes funding for the Iraq war got? 218. If I had been there, funding for the Iraq war would have failed.
Yeah, I believe that the problem with the present anti-war movement, not only in the USA, is that, well, of course, it's very noble to ask for ceasefire in Gaza, to criticize, of course, the genocide made by the Israeli forces, but it's still not consistent, because a lot of these movements with very good positive intentions do not want to touch the source of the problem. For the US, it's of course the problem of the Zionist lobby and the influence over the Washington policy. All these circles strongly linked to the Tel Aviv policy or Zionist lobby. For the quite similar is for the British politics, I believe, as well. So it's not only point of ceasefire; it's also point of how to get the Palestine rights match, how to get to the free Palestine, how to make the next stop, because stopping the bombing is that's the first step to the peace in the Middle East. And I believe
Yes.
the problem of the anti-war movements is that they do not make this another step. That the ceasefire is absolutely enough all for them, and it's not the only one problem, of course, for them. But I mentioned about the rage against the war machine really because it was significant also from one more point. It was organized together by People's Party, so the progressive one, and the Libertarian Party, so the right one, definitely the right one. And and both parties have been attacked from the left, from the right, how they can cooperate about the issue of peace, how they can act together. And you have been criticized exactly from the same positions. You mentioned in the beginning that you are so far left that sometimes you can consider yourself the right one.
Yes.
I remember how many attacks was on you when you linked this broadcast from Ayokimati about the
Oh, yeah. Yes.
that people from the different backgrounds cannot cooperate. That's the main point for the elites. They don't want us to cooperate. We believe it's possible.
That's exactly right. Now, if you go back and you read the counterintelligence program, COINTELPRO was a program of the United States government. It was illegal and un-American, as characterized by Senator Frank Church at the time, who investigated. And that was and the investigation occurred because some really, really courageous activists broke into the FBI office, and they found all of these documents. The documents can be found online for free if you just go under COINTELPRO papers. There have been several books written by Jim Vanderwall and Churchill. Oh gosh. Oh, he's my friend. I can't believe, oh my God. Anyway, the name of the book is the COINTELPRO Papers. And then the second book was Agents of Repression. And that book focused specifically on the American Indian movement and the US government efforts. And this is government in its totality, because it's not just the FBI, it was the CIA, it was local police departments, and they were doing illegal things to US citizens who only wanted really the exercise of their constitutional rights. And as a result of that, some of the documents are very clear that they don't want Black people and white people working together. They don't want old people and young people working together. They say these things in these documents. So what I said was, if it keeps them up late at night, the very thought of us working together, then that is, of course, what we need to do. And so therefore, and it's not just me, because I wasn't the one who originated the thought. Actually, it goes as far back as Marcus Garvey. Back in the 1930s, he was a Jamaican in the United States, but he was organizing back to Africa and had a newspaper and had lots of ships and just organizing and against oppression. And he was the one that said that this coalition of like white nationalists and Black nationalists need to occur. I just happened to read it. And my friend, who is my political son, he's not my friend, he's my political child, Io Kimathi, had the courage and the guts to say, okay, I'm going to try it. And so you got these white nationalists, people who would never talk to a Black person, but now they understand that, yeah, maybe there is some commonality here. Maybe there is some convergence of goals and aspirations. Maybe there are things that are uniquely, quote unquote, American that we can work toward together. And it's a wonderful thing to see. Now, it's difficult because we talked about the siloing. We talked about the balkanization. And so what it takes is a special kind of mentality to break out of it, to rebel against it, and to say, I am not going to be shaped by somebody else's values, I am going to shape myself according to my own values. And there are some young people that I have interacted with who have been on that other side. They were so anti, they were, let me put it this way, they were pro-white, but they were so pro-white that they could only see white. And they couldn't see me as a US citizen. Even though if I were to look historically, it's the Black people in the United States have been saying, yeah, live up to your Constitution. You wrote it. This is supposed to be the law of the land, you know? And so now the constitutional rule is being snatched away from us by way of this censorship. Now it's becoming so apparent to very many people that these white nationalists are saying, well, yeah, we can't win this alone. We need some allies. And yeah, we're glad to have some allies. And it's been a wonderful thing to witness.
Yeah, well, I remember I had very similar impressions a couple of years ago. I participated in some political conferences in Iran in Palestinian question. And it was fantastic to meet people from the very different, sides of the political barricades, from the extreme right or and the definitely progressive ones, and also I remember guests from Nation of Islam and the other American groups, Black American groups. It was fantastic, but because on any other issue, it was very hard to find anything in common. But when we discuss about the pro-Palestinian, pro-peace movement, it was so many things we can talk about and agree about. It was
That's right.
A fantastic experience.
But you know what? Here's the thing. This is what I believe, and this is why I think this kind of cooperation across silos is so important, because if we discover that we can work together on one issue, I guarantee you, we will find another issue and another issue and another issue together that we can work together on.
Yes, the first step is absolutely crucial. But yeah, of course, the enemy doesn't want to see us cooperating. And you mentioned about the censorship, about the police pressure. We have that everyday reality. It's our everyday reality in Britain. My friends, English communists, have been arrested several days ago just for leafleting in support of people in Gaza and revealing the truth about the Zionist genocide in Palestine. Censorship is even harder than it was before. Labour Party, as we know, makes another cleansing of any activist, any member, any councillor, even if that person mentioned the case of Palestine. So well, this chain is shorter and shorter every day.
That's right.
And they still.
But now, here's the thing. When I didn't realize how connected the issues were or are until after September 11th, I just happened to have been in Paris, and we were there for a 911 Truth event, and it was said that the 911 Truth was anti-Semitic. And so I'm saying, now, why is trying to find out the real answers of how 4 times in one day $1 trillion military and intelligence infrastructure could fail in the United States, trying to get the answer to that, how can that be anti-Semitic? And then it began to dawn on me, well, maybe it's anti-Semitic by people who are not even Semites. But perhaps this could be a threat to the same people who print our currency. That international bankster class, they print our money, and now they want to take away our constitutional rights to discuss issues of extreme importance to the taxpayers of the United States. How can that be? How can that even stand? But now we are seeing our elected officials dance to that tune. So they don't investigate September 11th. You can have a eyewash sham investigation and call it an investigation. And we still don't have answers to that. We don't have answers to the global political disease that just caused the whole world to shut down and lock down and cause people to inject substances into their body that they don't even know what it is. So how can all of that happen? Maybe it's all the same interests and forces that don't want anybody to ask any questions, to try to answer their questions, and don't want people to read each other's questions.
Yeah, well, instead of giving us answer or letting us to get answer, they just create more questions and more secrets. We have just faced another war between the West and the Yemeni people. Yemeni people have been attacked, under attack of the USA and the UK Air Forces, and well, no one knows if it won't stop with that. But probably any kind of invasion is still possible and on the table. Just a couple hours ago, American Air Forces bombed Shia militias in Syria and Iraq. So the point is that, well, the re-election of Joe Biden means that present wars in the Middle East could only spread all over the Syria, Iraq, or even in Iran.
Well, I wouldn't say re-election of Joe Biden, because Joe Biden was not elected by the people of the U.S. to start with. That election was stolen. And, just because they slap a lawsuit on you for saying so doesn't mean it didn't happen. It exactly happened that way. I have been successfully reelected 6 times in the United States Congress and 2 times to the Georgia legislature. So I've got some experience in how they steal elections. I had 2 stolen from me. I know what they do.
Well, yeah, I believe that that's the point, that they still call that liberal democracy, but it's no democracy at all, no democratic for right. Sure. Well, if we understand that liberal means related to liberty, it's for sure not liberal in that way. Anyhow,
that's right. That's right.
But well, I would like to ask also about that. A lot of people, even who agree with us about the right of Palestinian people to have own independent country, stopped on another issue. Just a couple weeks ago, our common friend George Galloway, renowned pro-peace activist from Britain, has been declined to have a voice on the anti-war rally in Birmingham, because organizers said, okay, we know what we have done for Gaza people. You have been together in the convoys in Gaza when the first blockade of yes. Gaza. So okay, we admire what you have done for Gaza people, but now you have also have spoken about the Ukrainian war, and you are pro-Putin, you are pro-Russian, you are anti-Ukrainian, so you cannot speak about the peace. So the point is, can people imagine the world when you can be against the genocide, but only a few of them, only part? You can be, for the peace, but not everywhere.
Right.
What has happened? Yeah,
You know, this and the situation of George Galloway is another political travesty that took place in the UK, because, you know, I know George Galloway and he should be in the parliament. There's no reason for George Galloway to not be in the UK parliament, except for the fact that special moneyed, that international bankster class again has decided that his voice is too large and his ideas are too correct, and therefore there's no place for him in UK politics, elected politics. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. In fact, I would have to say that my own, you know, I used to be Green Party, pro Green Party, but the Green Party has sold out. That, you know, that international bankster class is able to buy everybody. And so the Green Party is not the party of peace that you would think it is. They collaborated with the German war machine during that time of the Iraq War and supported the Iraq War. And then they caused a split off in Germany to the new party, I think it's called now. And I don't know how committed they are to going against the imperial line. I don't know, but I know the Green Party just basically lost the plot. And in the UK, the same, you know, the same scenarios. They don't make a difference. So that party that you thought was going to make a difference and raise its voice against imperialism, against colonialism, well, you know, the voices have been muted. And so they don't have the value that they ought to have, because they have been, they prostituted themselves and they got bought. Now, someone like George Galloway never got bought, but the same could be said for me. I never got bought. And that's why I'm now in Asia teaching, because there's no place for me in the United States.
yeah, well, yeah, I believe that they would like to eliminate people like you, like George. Of course, we wish George the best, because he's now running in the Rochdale by-election. So we all hope that
he's running.
Yes, in by-election,
Oh,
So yeah, we wish him luck.
I'll have to reach out to him and tell him, oh, yes. When is the election? Do you know when the election is? I have to go to London and knock on a few doors and say, hey, support.
That's by-election, so it's 29th of February. So it's just in month's time.
Oh, no time. Time. Okay.
But after that, that would be, you know, also election of the mayor of London. So I believe that if not George's success in Rochdale, I believe that he'll run for mayor of London. So that would be great campaign.
Needs to, because we need that voice. We need that a voice with state power behind it, because I can tell you, as someone who has been inside, having the voice inside does make a difference. It might make it's a little ripple, but it was RFK, not Junior, but RFK, the father, who said, one act of justice creates a ripple, a tiny ripple. But when you mix millions of ripples together, that's when you wash down the mightiest walls of oppression. So yeah, a tiny ripple is important.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. McKinney. It was absolutely pleasure to have you here. And I believe that we all understand that there will be no peace if we don't fight for peace.
That's right.
There'd always be imperialist war somewhere in the world. If we cannot replace that with our victory over poverty, over hunger, over oppression, over exploitation. So we have to work, we have to act, we have to be together, we have to speak, we have to meet. So it was absolutely fantastic to have you here. Our guest of this special edition of the Without Censorship interviews been Dr. Cynthia McKinney. Thank you very much. Thank you once again for your participation.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope to come back.
I hope we'll meet soon also with our debates, and I hope that we can share our experience from all over part of the world. Dear friends and comrades, please subscribe our YouTube channel. It's not only the one in English. You can also find us in Russian and in Polish, wopреки cenzorze, I wbrew cenzurze. So please follow us also on Telegram, on former Twitter, so X, on Facebook as well. Please comment, please give us likes. We work together, we work for peace. Thank you very much and see you soon.
Bye-bye.